In this video, I'm going to go over some of the main points from sections 1.1 and 1.2 of the textbook. Section 1.1 starts by defining business statistics. It's a collection of procedures and techniques, which we will see in this class, that are used to convert a data set into meaningful information that can be used by a business. There are two types of statistics, descriptive and inferential. Descriptive statistics is when we describe a data set using charts, graphs like bar graphs or histograms, or numerical measures like the mean or median. In inferential statistics, we go a step beyond just describing, and we use our data to reach a conclusion about a larger group. So for example, we might estimate something. We might give a small group of people a new product, have them try it out, and ask them what they think about it, and if they would be likely to buy that product if they saw it in a store. We could use this information to estimate the monthly sales of the new product to decide whether or not to release the product. Hypothesis testing is using data to test a claim, and we're going to see this at towards the end of this class. So an example of a claim that a business would make would be that their tires will last 60,000 miles. How do we know that the tires will actually last 60,000 miles? Can we just take the business's word for it, or should we actually try to test that out? So that's what hypothesis testing is all about, is testing claims that a business could make. So section 1.2 talks about some data collection methods. We have an experiment, which you should think of an experiment as like a science experiment, where you control some variables and then you have your variable that you're interested in and you measure the results. A telephone survey, where you call people and ask questions, or you could do a written survey, either through the postal mail or over email. Direct observations, where you're just observing a situation in person and recording the results, or a personal interview where you ask people questions in person. So, some issues with data collection. The first one is question wording. And the book gives some examples of leading questions. Basically, it means that you're wording the question in such a way that the person responding feels compelled to agree or disagree, not necessarily respond with how they actually feel. So a lot of times the wording is very emotional, so it would make people feel bad if they were to answer a certain way. You also need to make sure that questions are worded clearly so that people understand how to answer. Interview bias. You want the tone and attitude of the interviewer to be neutral. You don't want people to feel bullied into responding a certain way if you are asking them questions either on the phone or in person. Non-response bias is a really important one, and this is the idea that if you have a survey that you're mailing or emailing, not everyone will take the time to respond. And also the idea that if you're calling people, some people may not be home to answer the call, or they may just not pick up the phone if they see a number that they don't recognize. Often people who feel strongly about something are more likely to respond to a survey. And so a good example of this is if you think about a survey printed on a receipt from a fast food restaurant that you've probably seen before. Most people who eat at the fast food restaurant probably are going to be pretty satisfied with their service, and so they might not necessarily respond to the survey. However, people who had a bad experience, maybe their order got messed up, or people were, rude or whatever, if they had a bad experience, they're probably going to be more likely to respond because, they want to get that anger out. So they're going to be more likely to respond to the survey. So overall, your responses to that survey probably are going to be a lot more negative than the actual reactions of the population at general. So another type is selection bias, another type of issue, and that is in the way that we choose participants for our survey, and we're going to talk about some different methods for choosing participants in another video. Observer bias is when people observe the same event, but they observe it differently. And then measurement error involves using tools to measure something and two people could measure the same thing with a ruler and get slightly different results. So those are some issues with data collection.